Right, we have our panelists with us this morning. Of course, we are talking about matter security. Standing on guard is what you're watching this morning. We're keeping an eye on the enemy. Corruption is a big enemy in this country as well. And we just want to hear, are we actually forging ahead when it comes to fighting and combating corruption? Already we can see also what is headlining the front page of the Daily Nation today. Many of you taking breakfast this morning are not really aware of where also your sugar is coming from. And this is what is happening at the Cabes. We have at Kenya Bureau of Standards, makers of fakes run the show, and it says when greed meets graft, health of Kenyans at risk as quality agency releases goods certified unfit for human consumption by its scientists into the market. Kenya Bureau of Standards is buying and issuing fake stamps, aiding and abating the sale of counterfeits and smuggled products. And this story is well fleshed out on page 2 of the Daily Nation. And in light of that also, we had an editorial cartoon, if you're waking up this morning, and this is what is in the Daily Nation today. We have the Zambian delegation who are coming to Kenya to benchmark on fighting corruption. And we have a list of hours here in the country that is frustratingly long. Just to read some of them, and of course we can hear from the ESCC that 3.2 billion shillings so far have been recovered. But if you may add all these scandals that we have in this country, some of them not listed here or captured by Monene, Goldenberg, we have Eurobond, we have Ministry of Health, Anglo Leasing is missing, we have drug lords in this country, cartels, we have Kenya Power, that is the KPLC, and we have also NCPB, we have Kenya Pipeline Company that is embroiled in corruption. We have the National Youth Service 1 and National Youth Service 2. We have Kenya Forest Service that we know also when it comes to logging that some of high government officials or people who are in the upper reaches of government also are embroiled in corruption. Chicken Gate, the list goes on and on. And we have this posy of goons, they're saying, yeah, welcome, thumbs up, Zambians, come and learn how you can benchmark, of course, on fighting corruption. Let's just hear from our panelists to this morning. I can see Lucy there. Let's begin with you. Fighting corruption, it's also a security threat in this country.
Absolutely.
If our health is at risk because we're taking illegal drugs or maybe illegal counterfeit goods that are in the market, we know some of the products are laced with mercury and some are laced also with copper, as the revelations we have from today's Daily Nation. Let's begin with you.
Well, corruption, there is no debate any longer. Corruption is a form of terrorism. And therefore, it is a national concern to everybody concerned.
Yes.
And when we talk about fighting corruption, I think the first thing we need to understand is that corruption fights back by corrupting further. I think that is what is clear from everything that we are seeing. And we have to look at corruption as a symptom, not as a cause, and
yes,
that's my view. And it's because when you look at all these people who are corrupt, and for me I say all of us are corrupt, all Kenyans. Nobody wakes up in the morning with a plan to be corrupt. You know, corruption is a process that is able to align our greatest anxieties and fears with probably what we think can compensate for that. And it's important that we be able to just understand that we cannot talk about corruption if we don't talk about ourselves. For me, that's the way I would put it. As for Zambians, well, the Zambians themselves are like, are you serious? So I think that is a reaction enough. But to be fair, I think I read that they went to the ESCC. Are there any corruption issues going on with ESCC? Maybe they can teach them something, I don't know.
What do you mean corruption issues with the ESCC? Because the ESCC, or maybe ESCC has done a sterling job in terms of fighting corruption.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they're here to learn. I'm just trying to understand their logic.
Okay. 3.2 billion shillings recovered so far by ESCC, and they have their strategic plan 2018-2023. Looking at these figures, or maybe looking at some of the corruption cases that we've had before, isn't that a dismal amount compared to, okay, of course, there's a good step that they're doing, but 3.2 compared to the billions that actually have really gone down the drain? I don't know. Let's introduce also Ambassador Erastus Mwencha to take us through.
Thank you very much, Debarl. Good morning again. Whereas I agree with Lucy, I'm terrified when she says that all of us Kenyans are corrupt. I want to believe that there are some honest people out there, farmers who go to National Cereals Board to deliver their crop only to be, cheated. And they have done a honest day's labor, harvested and brought their cereals. I want to assume there's some honest business person in the street who goes and buys some water to sell only to be cheated. And so, but I want to agree with the, one point, that corruption fights back. And I think we can sit here saying how deep the corruption is. What is important is how do we move forward in view of the fact that corruption fights back. Yes, 3.7 is pittance.
3.2.
Because 3.2. Against what? Because when we see all these billions, it must be somewhere, sitting in some bank, bought some property. Whatever it is done, so somebody must go for it. Let's go this way. To me, I think we have to have now President Uhuru in his legacy term to lead this war from the front. I'm happy to see the chorus that is there, whether it's from Raila or Judicial or CDI, DCI, all saying we are going to fight. But the public must now come in. And if the public comes in and makes this a big outcry, we will surely not fight, win this war. Don't forget, it is now accepted generally, and that's where Lucy is right, that you go and steal this money, you look so benevolent, you buy power, and you become very strong. And you can see these are the guys that we vote in. These are the guys who are running the show. They are in parliament, they are in everywhere. They will go, they will not leave anything, unturned to make sure that they get their way. But the public now must come in. There was somebody who was organizing a demonstration here, then was abducted. Very sad. It could be that somebody in the system is trying to stop it. So let's mobilize the public to say, let's fight this thing and at least reduce it, because we may not finish it.
All right, let's hear from Dr. Kanenja. Good morning.
Good morning, Debarl, and good morning, Kenyans. I think we've been talking about corruption for a very long time. Now, there's always a degree of corruption in every society. But in the words of the great Professor Ali Mazrui, 5% corruption can still allow a country and a society to move on. But 95% corruption, it kills and destroys a country and a nation. And we are very high, actually, when it comes to corruption. Now, on this show, I once did mention that corruption it's not just a bad habit; it's a national security threat to this country. It spells doom for us. When we are having counterfeit farm inputs, when having counterfeit drugs kill patients, they create resistance to diseases. Counterfeit products which are not real, they may cause accidents, because you may put a fake product in your spare part in your car and it falls apart along the way. Now, Lucy alluded to the fact that a lot of Kenyans are corrupt. Now, I still want to believe there are a lot of Kenyans out there who want to do genuine things. Personally, I've never taken a bribe from anyone. I'm very reluctant to offer any.
We forgot to ask if Lucy will come with a polygraph so that we can ascertain
with polygraph.
No. Watch out.
Polygraph
yes. I promise you I will pass the polygraph test. Even though I'll get back to that. It's been disputed in the United States, actually, in terms of its scientific nature. But I think what she's also trying to communicate is we've become numb to corruption.
Right.
And in Kenya, we may not be corrupt, but we still think it's okay. We glorify people when they steal money, and they sanitize that money by running for political office. So Kenyans have to own this process. Kenyans have to own this fight. You can't leave it to the Anti-Corruption Commission or to Parliament, who, quite a number, and they may not like me for saying this, got their monies actually through not very clean means. And so if Kenyans do not own the process of fighting corruption, it's going to be extremely difficult for us to fight it.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's hear also from Dr. Peter Biara Jack. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Debarl. Of course, we have been talking about corruption for quite some time, and this is something that is not going away. And I doubt actually it will go away because we keep rewarding corruption. And if you keep rewarding it, that means you are encouraging it. You are trying to make it the model for the future generations. If the political leaders that are being elected are known to be corrupt in advance of them being elected, I think there was somebody, I think it was PLO Lumumba that was saying, if you elect hyenas to take care of the goats, and then, you know, the goats disappear, and then you cry, you know, it's not really fair in that sense. So I think as African societies, we are not doing a very good job of actually rewarding good leadership, rewarding the kind of behaviors that we want to encourage, that we want to see. We are rewarding this very bad boy attitude, bad boy kind of behavior that is corrupting our society. And it goes back to the issues of values, because these values are not being taught in a school. What is being taught is how to get ahead, how to live in a good house, how to dress nice. These are the things that people are taking away as the essence of civilization, but not really the values that underpinned someone that is learned, someone that is cultured, someone that has dignity and honor. So obviously what you see here is a case where corruption has become the system. Corruption has become essentially the essence of government. Those who go into the government go there for the simple purpose of going to loot the public funds so that they themselves become rich and so that they and their families become powerful. And this is the same thing you see even in the civil service. Mm-hmm. So if this thing is happening, like you put up the list of those scandals.
Yes.
There's so many. So that means every generation that is coming into parliament, or a new generation that is coming into public service, is basically coming in with a design of creating their very own scandal, mm-hmm. for which they become rich. And this is really the pathetic part, because then government policy is not being realized, because the intention of government is to have a change in society. And if corruption diverts resources away from those priorities of the government,
yes.
then all of a sudden now the society is as if there was no government. Mm-hmm. And you find this in many African countries, especially including my own country, where sometimes you wonder, what is the government there to do? If indeed your children are being taught by donors, the health is being provided by donors, food is being provided by donors, you know, roads, you have nothing. So what is the essence of your legitimacy? What is it that you are actually providing? Why should you exist? You know, mm-hmm. Because there are institutions, but they don't function, and the outcome that you get in the end doesn't have any real difference from outcome of anarchy.
Right, and of course, also looking at the Daily Nation today, Judge Morara, I think this is where we come to you as a Human Rights Commission, because this is a violation of our rights, where we expect an institution to act like a grid and a sieve, where we have illegal goods, sipping into the market, and we have now also people who are colluding within this institution, like the Kenya Bureau of Standards right now. The revelations that we have on the front page of a Daily Nation, corruption is so, rife, even in the institution itself. So if we have mercury in the market, or products that are laced with mercury and copper, and we don't know other products that we've seen so far, also from social media, some, water bowsers, drawing water from sewers and taking them as clean water, or rivers as well. And they get the stamp from Kenya Bureau of Standards as well. We are not aware of what is happening currently with the products that we have on the shelves in the supermarket. The water that we drink, how portable is the water as well?
Debarl, let me start by celebrating the panelists and thank you for inviting me to this show this morning. I think it's a tragedy of sorts, what you said. And then as a country, we get surprised when we see these rising cases of cancer. We are being fed on poison. But instead of really addressing the root cause, what are we doing now, coming up with this sophisticated cancer equipment, hospitals being actually given the equipment to treat what should have been prevented in the first place. So for me, really, we need to do a serious stock taking You're right that indeed our constitution is very clear on issues of consumer rights that need to be protected. We shouldn't be fed this kind of poison in the name of food. And I hope that the relevant authorities are really going to get to the bottom of this and keep our population healthy, keep our country safe and healthy. But having said that quickly, Debarl, within the broader context of corruption and what my colleagues have said, for me, what I see emerging really is what has been described in other spaces as the deep state. And when my colleagues here are talking about corruption fighting back, we're already seeing that. We are seeing the denting of the credibility of the investigations that are ongoing. People like Mike Muya is actually now saying he was part of this cartel, if you will, of the Ngiritas. He's known them. They have done business with this family. And therefore, already the evidence is being dented. And at this point in time, I really don't know whether we are serious in fighting corruption. My colleagues have quoted quotable scholars like Mazrui. There's another scholar that I like in terms of the way he looks at the world, Michael Ignatieff, who spoke about the seductiveness of moral disgust. I think as Kenyans, we have been seduced by the disgust around corruption, but we don't have the wherewithal to fight that corruption effectively and efficiently. And also, Dr. Khanenja, you said, Mazurui said maybe with a 5% corruption, we can thrive. 95% corruption, a no. Yesterday I was in a function where one of the speakers made a comment by passing saying, well, we are a country that is 80% Christian and maybe 95% corrupt. And that is something that we really need to seriously think about. And for me, when you see these effects of the deep state fighting back, already the investigators are in the mix. We've heard over the weekend, and Ambassador Erastus Mwenja was reminding me, people are already saying our people are being finished. We've seen that model from Kimunya's time. We are seeing it now. And when we come out to fight corruption, politics comes at play. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. You've mentioned that we don't really have the wherewithal. When you're talking about wherewithal, what do you mean we don't have the wherewithal as a citizen to fight corruption?
We have the structures, we have the institutions, we have the EACC and all this. But then, since we established the EACC from the time of Harun Moa and all this, we should be seeing corruption going down. On the contrary, as the panelists have spoken, we are seeing it being entrenched, we are seeing it being celebrated in different versions. You loot, you steal, you make a name, you become notorious, you are elected. And really, if we had the wherewithal to fight it, I really wish my colleagues at the ESCC every bit of luck. Let's start by seeing what their work is actually doing for us. They have recovered 3.2 billion.
Yes.
How is that money being used? Is it being plowed back to corrupt enterprises? We want to see maybe out of the 3.2 billion we recovered, a hospital has been put up, a road has been fixed.
Yes.
Very clear, so that Kenyans can see that those ones who actually profit from the benefits of corruption, when that is taken away from them, it's plowed back to the Kenyan public, to the Kenyan people.
Right. So none of you actually have really commented. You know, we can actually try and see the Zambian delegation here in the country in two ways, yeah? First of all, maybe we are so corrupt as a country that we are actually the yardstick for the world to learn from us.
Not what to do.
Of course, I don't want to believe they're actually coming to learn about corruption. So I'm saying this, of course, with my tongue firmly in cheek. Or yes, the EACC has done such a sterling job in this country that the Zambian delegation should actually come here and learn from us as well, right? No, briefly.
No. Okay, not that I'm putting you people down. Of course, in Kenya, you guys are doing okay.
Yeah.
We're doing okay.
Comparatively, we are not at our best.
Okay.
But you see, some of these government delegations, when they decide to travel to some place for learning trip, is usually amazing. It's ironic the kind of places that they end up going. So it's not really, in my view, I don't think it's really being because you have done any amazing job. Because we know, you see, the good thing there is Kenyan media is very huge and has influence in the entire region. So people know And all this scandal, people have heard about them. And everybody knows that nothing has been done. Make it matters worse, people were also following your post-election violence of 2008 and the election campaign and how the ICC became an issue, and you actually end up electing people that were indicted. You did that. But you see, people are coming here to learn corruption. So the point I'm trying to make here,
To learn about corruption or to learn corruption?
To learn about fighting corruption.
you know, they go together.
Let's hear from Ambassador Erastus Boincha.
I was fortunate to have lived in Zambia for quite some time. And I know how the state was founded. Because if you look at the first president, for instance, Kenneth Kaunda, who's still strong and going, you know, about his business, he tried to live an exemplary life. Of course, there were things that didn't go well because, you know, he had moved to the left, and because he was also fighting for liberation in Southern Africa, so the economy was impoverished. But that is a man who retired, and you could still find him walking in the streets. There was a time when somebody succeeded him and tried to put him in jail. President Nyerere came and said, I will not come live out of this jail until we come out together. And you could see the mood in the street because he was humble and he lived the principles. So we must demonstrate those principles. And the leaders who tried to follow him, when they were caught with their hands in the till, they faced the law. Debarl, I think what has been said here is the deep state. If you look at the Constitution, we have a good instrument, but what has happened is not fully operational. Chapter 6, which would have helped us to say all the things he's saying, was washed away. And this is because the cartels in the parliament who thought they would be netted by that. Move beyond that. You can have anti-corruption. You see what is happening now with the DCI. They are involved and they are investigating.
Absolutely.
This is like a film making. That's where the public must come in. The president must lead it. I was listening to Nigerian story as I was coming in this morning on BBC. And they were saying, President Buhari is frustrated, but he's still fighting on. And look at how many senators, they call state governors,
yes,
in Nigeria who have been put in. Some with $3 million. They are now behind with 14 years. We haven't seen any high level, indictment.
Yes.
And that is because the state agencies that are supposed to do it, you move from investigation or to judicial. There is corruption in between there. So this is not going, it's a cancer, it is chronic. If we are going to fight it, it must be led from the front, and it is going to be brutal. It has its own consequences.
Right.
But President Uhuru will live as a legacy, as a hero, if he just gives a dent on this one war.
Right. Maybe we give it the wrong termination, or the wrong term, I should say. It shouldn't be cancer, because cancer, yes, it can metastasize. It can be benign or benign, and we don't know if we try and cure it. Some of it, we will also, resurface again. Are we also maybe not really fighting corruption in the right way in this country? I don't know. Given that we have the National Steering Anti-Corruption Committee, that we've never had even it talking about of course, the corruption that is currently going on in the country, together with the EACC, with the Anti-Economic Bribery Act, I think, that is still, that was affronted by the private sector as well. Let's hear from Lucy Mukuria as we're winding up on corruption. Then we can weigh in also on what is on the front page of a Daily Nation, briefly.
I should make it clear, just from the responses I've gotten about my comment about all Kenyans being corrupt. You see, corruption is by commission and by omission.
Yes.
If you see something going wrong and you keep quiet, you're equally corrupt.
Correct.
That's my whole point, about it. Of course, they're very loyal, trustworthy, and honest Kenyans, but I'm saying that one way of also looking at corruption is not just by doing, it's also by not doing, yeah? Coming back to, why we seem to be going around in circles in as far as the fight for corruption is concerned. Maybe we have made a misdiagnosis.
Yes.
I don't know whether we are willing to consider that. Maybe we have asked the wrong questions. You know, maybe we are addressing an issue whose problem we have not properly defined.
Yes.
Maybe what we should be doing is actually looking at it from a fresh perspective and saying, what do we really know about corruption? How did we get here? How does it happen? Because corruption is by people. And, you know, like I said, nobody wakes up in the morning and is corrupt. Corruption is a process, you know. Everybody wants to make a good contribution to this country. Everybody, I believe every Kenyan is a good Kenyan at heart. But what happens is that, you know, one day somebody comes to you and they start calling you sir, madam, and you're like, wow, what's happening? You know, they start pouring you tea. They start doing you favors, and you're like, okay, I like this. This is comfortable. So corruption is, there's an art of seduction to it. There's a grooming to it. And then they come to you and they say, oh, this is really small. Just, you know, only you can handle this for me. Just do it. And you're like, oh my God, this person has been so good to me. So you do it as a favor. But the moment you do that, that's it. You're locked in, you know. And from there, it becomes also you realizing that by doing these things, you're able to better take care of your health, your family's health. You know, you attach things that make you feel more comfortable in life with what you're doing. And somehow you legitimize what you're doing. This family of Ngirita, I want to use that as a case in point. That family knew the qualifications of the daughter, where she's gone to school. So when she comes home with all this money, did they ever say to her, take it back? The same way you're in school. I mean, my daughter comes home with a pen that's not hers. I'm like, whose pen is this? You know, we are going to war. I don't want to see this pen, take it back. So when she came home and she brought all this money, nobody said, this is not possible, take it back. They said, oh my gosh, can I get this? Can I get that? And, you know, she was like, yeah, this is legit. You know, my family is, you know, we are all together in it. And it becomes now a family affair, you know, and everybody starts benefiting from it. And time goes on and they're like, yeah, this is normal. And they're able to get things they could never get in life. But that's because their value for life is attached to material things, not really how they feel about themselves or how they relate with other people. And I think that's another thing that we need to face, that how we value each other has become so materialistic. The car you drive matters, where you live matters, where you went to school matters. It doesn't matter that you're honest, that you're loyal, that you're truthful, that you're kind, that you're compassionate, that you have empathy. We've devalued all those things, you know? And it reaches a point where, you know, these people lead very hollow lives of just materials and objects. So me, I would say, do them a favor, arrest them and jail them. Because they too want their humanity back. They are tired of, you know, living in a void, for real. Because they know it. Because they know without the money, they are worth nothing.
So we save them from themselves.
Save them from themselves.
So, Debarl, I think, let me pick it up from what Lucy said.
Can we hear from Khanenja, then we come to you?
Yeah.
Dr. Khanenja.
You know, for a minute, I thought we were actually moving to something else. I think
Already.
she articulated it so well that these people need to be saved from themselves. And part of the trouble we've been having actually is even the ethics, things and the morals we teach our children is to worship money and wealth and status. And that is why it doesn't matter how much money you steal. The moment you start running for office and people see you splashing money out there, they say, now you are the real deal. Correct. And we have to change that.
Right.
Yeah, just on the Zambian story.
Let's hear from George and we'll come to
that. Maybe, Debarl, what I want to do is just give a quote that I saw from, you know, maybe the Zambians have come here. I saw a sticker in one of the vehicles in town saying, we run, no, we drive the way we run, fast. And maybe we deplete and steal our resources the way we run, fast. And those ones who have actually known...
We are faster than you guys.
Yes, we are faster than you guys. And we've even come, we've had people come to this country, go to the high altitude areas of E10 to train so that they may run the way we do, fast. So maybe the Zambians are coming here in the spirit of that sticker, they have seen that this is a country that depletes its resources the way it runs fast. But having said that, really, I think there's a misdiagnosis of corruption, and I get frustrated every time I hear people saying that this is a very rich country, look at all this money being lost. We are not a rich country. We are a poor, heavily indebted, highly unequal society that must start getting angry because what we have is a very small percentage of this country benefiting from the loot, and so many Kenyans going to get hungry without medication and all that. So the moment we start making it about human rights, about the right to food, about the right to health, about the right to a decent job, a decent wage and all that, that is the proper diagnosis we'll be making. But as long as it's about the glitz and the glimmer and the glitters, and you said all that in glitters is not gold, I think we will never get it right.
Right, all that in glitters is not gold, but of course we want to know as well. This is diametrically different from what we're discussing, but looking on the front page of a Daily Nation as well, I think the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, you've been also doggedly following on what is happening with Miguna. Blow to Sonko as city speaker rejects Miguna on the basis of dual citizenship. How legal is that?
Debarl,
because this is codified. This is contemplated in the Constitution.
Miguna's matter is something that I think we've spoken about ad nauseum. And for us as a commission, our position has been, whatever issues the government had with Miguna, our courts of law are the final arbiters, including on matters to do with his citizenship and whether he lost his citizenship or not. As long as that process has not been arbitrated in our courts of law, our position has been very clear. We produced a report on this. And let me start by saying that Miguna was born in this country, somewhere in Nyando. The same constitution says a Kenyan by birth cannot lose his or her citizenship. If indeed Miguna was here illegally and not a Kenyan, he had lost his citizenship, our courts had been seized of that matter, and they were going to pronounce themselves on that. That never happened, and for this at this point in time, it's really a continuing and never-ending circus, if you will.
So from the point of view of the Constitution, is that particular matter of dual citizenship and the nomination being also annulled by the Speaker, how genuine is that?
I think there's a gray area there because, again, the same Constitution that says dual citizenship, a citizen by birth cannot lose his citizenship, also calls upon those ones who lost their citizenship to register. There's a process for doing that. Miguna, we all know, was cleared to vie as a governor in this country, and we want to know the basis upon which he was cleared. So a lot of issues still remain unresolved insofar as this matter is concerned.
Right.